I gave my grandson $19,500 for his big graduation trip. 2 weeks later, my son's wife sent me a message. She said old folks would make the vacation boring. You can't come. So the day before they left, I took back every dollar. When my son called me over and over, I finally answered and said, "You taught him that family doesn't matter." James, if you're watching, hit that subscribe button and tell me what city you're from. Now, you might think I'm just a mean old lady, but let me explain how this all started. This whole thing began 8 months ago when my grandson Tyler told me he wanted the best graduation celebration ever. At 69 years old, I know when someone is trying to trick me. But when it's your own family member with his hopeful smile and those brown eyes like his grandpa had, well, even smart people like me can get fooled. "Grandma Sarah," Tyler said, sitting next to me in my garden, "everyone in my class is planning awesome trips after graduation. Kevin's family is going to Europe for 3 weeks. Marcus is going on a cruise around the Caribbean islands." I should have known something was wrong when Rebecca, my son's wife, suddenly came outside bringing lemonade she never made before. "Tyler, don't bother your grandma with travel stories," Rebecca said sweetly, putting down glasses very carefully like she was acting in a play. But Tyler kept talking. "I just want something special, something that shows our family sticks together through everything." The way he said family made my heart feel warm. After my husband George passed away 3 years ago, spending time with Tyler became my favorite thing. My son David was always working late at his office. And Rebecca was nice to me sometimes but not always. "What kind of trip were you thinking about, sweetheart?" I asked, already knowing I would try to help with whatever he wanted. Tyler's face got all happy. "There's this adventure company called Mountain Peak Tours. They do these amazing camping and hiking trips in Colorado. The whole package costs about $8,000. But Grandma, imagine seeing real mountains and camping under the stars. $1,000. I felt Rebecca watching me closely, waiting. "And there's flights and food and special hiking boots," Tyler said. "Everyone says this company is the very best. How much would everything cost together?" Asked slowly. Tyler looked nervous. "Maybe $20,000 total." I know that's a lot of money, but Grandma, graduation only happens once in your life. $20,000. My monthly checks from when I stopped working and George's savings were okay for living, but $20,000 was really serious money. But looking at Tyler's excited face, I started thinking maybe I could do it. "Let me think about it for a few days," I said. That's when Rebecca started her plan. "Sarah, you're so kind to even think about helping." I told Tyler he was dreaming too big. "But you've always been the grandma who makes wishes come true." She was being extra nice, but something in her voice sounded fake. Like she was reading words from a paper. 4 days later, Tyler called me, sounding upset. "Kevin's dad said my trip sounds boring compared to theirs. Grandma, please. Everyone will think I'm the poor kid who can't do anything cool." That same night I wrote the first check. Now, before you think I was silly for believing all this, let me tell you about my family and how I thought things were. David is my only son. When his father left us when David was 11, it was just him and me together. I worked really long hours at the store, saved up money for his college, and watched him grow into a man I felt proud of. He became a computer engineer, married Rebecca when he was 34, and gave me the grandson I always dreamed about having. Rebecca Johnson came from a rich family, the kind with lots of money and big houses in nice places. When David first brought her home 8 years ago, she was polite, but I always felt like she was judging me instead of liking me. "She's just picky about things," David would say whenever I told him I felt uncomfortable around Rebecca. "Just give her more time." 8 years later, I was still giving her time. But Tyler was different from his mom. From the day he was born, he felt like he was mine too. While Rebecca worked on her fashion business and David worked 70 hours every week, I was the one teaching Tyler how to make cookies, taking him to the zoo, and listening to his school problems. Or that's what I thought was happening. After I wrote that first check for the camping company, more requests started coming. Special camping gear from an expensive outdoor store. A professional camera that cost more than my whole month of grocery money. A guide who apparently worked with famous people. Grandma, everyone takes amazing photos on these trips, Tyler explained one day when we went shopping. The camera is really important. Look at Marcus's pictures from his trip. He showed me photos on his phone of another trip that looked like a movie instead of a vacation. These pictures are beautiful, honey, I said. But that camera costs so much money. Grandma, I know it's expensive, but think about it. These photos will last forever. When I'm old like you, I'll show them to my grandkids. Old like me. Those words hurt more than they should have. Every time I said maybe we shouldn't buy something, Rebecca would show up with the perfect comment. Sarah, you know how teenagers are. What their friends think means everything right now. We want Tyler to feel confident and happy. By the third month, I had written checks for $14,000. By the fifth month, it was $18,500. And the whole time I felt this worried feeling I couldn't explain. Something about how Rebecca's eyes looked shiny when I pulled out my checkbook. Something about how Tyler's requests always came with prices already looked up. Something about how neither of them ever asked if I could really afford all this stuff. But they were family, and family helps each other, right? The last thing that should have made me stop was when Rebecca said I should also pay for Tyler's new laptop for college. The laptop is really the most important part, Rebecca said, already showing me the computer website. Tyler found the perfect one for his engineering classes, but it costs $3,000. $3,000 for a computer a teenager would use. That seems like too much, I said carefully. Gran. Tyler's voice sounded sad and hurt. This is for my future education. This computer will help me succeed in college. I wrote the check. The next morning I sat in my kitchen looking at my bank numbers, wondering when I lost control of what was happening, and more importantly, why I felt like a stranger in my own family. The text message came on a Thursday morning while I was drinking tea and checking the final trip plans. $19,500 later, everything was ready for Tyler's graduation trip next Monday. The message was from Rebecca. Hi Sarah. Tyler has been thinking and he realized he wants this trip to be more of a young person's adventure. He doesn't want older family members there because it would make his friends feel weird. Hope you understand. The family will celebrate with you separately at home. I read it 3 times, thinking I must have understood it wrong. Older family members. Like I was some ancient person who would embarrass the special boy at his trip that I just paid for with almost $20,000. Called David right away. Mom, hey, what's going on? His voice sounded distracted, like he was probably reading emails while talking to me. David, Rebecca just told me I can't come on Tyler's trip. Quiet. Then. What do you mean you can't come? I read him the text message word by word. Another pause. Mom, I'm sure there's been some kind of mistake. Rebecca wouldn't do that. She would and she did. David, I've paid for everything. The camping company, the flights, the gear, the camera. Almost $20,000. $20,000. His voice got sharper. Mom, I had no idea it cost that much. Rebecca told me you wanted to chip in some money. Chip in. Like I offered to bring cookies to a party. David, I need you to talk to your wife about this. Of course. Let me speak with Rebecca and Tyler. I'm sure we can fix this problem. But deep in my heart, I already knew we couldn't fix it. You don't accidentally send a message that mean. You don't casually uninvite the person who paid for the whole trip, unless you never wanted them there from the start. That afternoon I did something I should have done months ago. I started making phone calls. First I called Mountain Peak Tours. Mrs. Johnson, the nice lady said happily. Everything's all ready for Monday. Your final payment went through yesterday. About that, I said. I need to know about your cancellation rules. There was a pause. Well, for trips this close to the start date, we usually keep all the money. But if there's a real emergency. Next I called the airline company. Mrs. Johnson, we're so excited for Tyler's adventure. The tickets are all printed. What would happen if I needed to cancel? The airline person's voice got careful. Cancel. Ma'am, the flight is in 4 days. We've already assigned the seats and processed everything. Then I called the gear store, the camera shop, the tour guide. Every conversation was the same pattern. Yes, everything was confirmed and ready. Yes, they got all their money. And yes, canceling now would be complicated and cost money. But here's something about being 69 years old and surviving after your husband died, working for decades in retail, and raising a son by yourself. You learn that sometimes the expensive choice is still the right choice. By 6 o'clock, I understood exactly what I was dealing with. And more importantly, I had a plan. Tyler called that evening, his voice sounding fake happy. "Grandma, are you so excited for Monday? I can't wait for you to hear about all the adventures when I get back." "Are you excited for me to hear about it, Tyler? Because your mother seems to think I won't be coming along." His voice got shaky. "Oh, that. Grandma, don't be upset. It's just my friends think family trips are kind of, lame." "I see. And who paid for this trip that's too lame for family?" Silence. "Tyler, answer my question." "You did, Grandma. But you wanted to do something nice for me." "I wanted to celebrate with you, honey." "That's different." More silence. "Tyler, let me ask you something. If I hadn't paid for any of this, would you still want me there?" The longest quiet moment. When he finally said something, his voice was tiny. "Grandma, that's not fair." But it was fair. It was the only fair question in this whole mess. Wednesday brought my son David to my house without calling first, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Mom, we need to talk." I let him come in, but I didn't offer coffee. This wasn't a friendly visit. Rebecca explained everything. He started before he even sat down. "Tyler's going through a phase. You know how teenage boys are about looking cool." "Do I?" "Tell me, David. Tell me about this phase where taking almost $20,000 from your grandmother and then uninviting her is considered normal teenage behavior." He rubbed his face with his hands, something I remembered from when he was a difficult teenager. "Apparently, some things don't change." "It's not about the money, Mom." "Isn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly like it's about the money. Rebecca and Tyler got what they wanted, and now they're throwing away the inconvenient old lady who gave it to them." "That's not." "Mom, you're being dramatic." "Dramatic. The word every woman hears when she dares to point out being treated badly." "David, let me ask you something. And I want you to really think before you answer. If your son is embarrassed by his own grandmother, what does that say about how you and Rebecca raised him?" His face turned red. "That's not fair. What's not fair is teaching a child that love costs money and that family members are disposable once they've done what you want." I walked to my desk and pulled out a folder I made the night before. Inside were copies of every check I wrote, every receipt, every bill for Tyler's trip. $19,537, I said, spreading the papers on my coffee table. "That's what your son's embarrassment of me cost." David looked at the papers, his face getting whiter with each page. "Jesus, Mom, I didn't know." "Your wife knew. Rebecca knew exactly how much I was spending because she helped Tyler ask for most of it." I watched understanding come into his eyes. David might avoid arguments, but he wasn't stupid. "She planned this whole thing, didn't she?" he said quietly. "What do you think?" He fell back into my couch, looking defeated. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to be a father. I want you to explain to your son that actions have results. And I want you to have a serious talk with your wife about respect. And if I do that, you'll what? Forgive and forget." I smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. "Oh, David, I'm afraid it's too late for that." "What do you mean?" "I mean I've already made some phone calls. Turns out when you pay for something completely, you have certain powers." His face went white. "Mom, what did you do?" "Nothing yet. But I have until tomorrow night to make some final decisions about Monday's trip." "You wouldn't." "Wouldn't what?" "Use my right to cancel services I paid for. Decide not to pay for a trip I'm not welcome to go on." David stood up fast. "Mom, you can't punish Tyler because you're angry at Rebecca." "I'm not punishing anyone, sweetheart. I'm simply doing the same thing Tyler and Rebecca did. If I'm too embarrassing to come on the trip, I'm probably too embarrassing to pay for it too. But all his friends are expecting. Are they? Or are they expecting a trip funded by the grandmother who's apparently so shameful she can't be seen? David started walking back and forth. Another old habit from his teenage years. Mom, please just come on the trip. We'll work everything else out later. David, do you hear yourself? You're asking me to pay $20,000 for the privilege of being tolerated by my own family. He stopped walking and looked at me with something that might have been respect mixed with fear. What would it take for you to let the trip happen? I thought about this carefully, not because I was planning to negotiate, but because I wanted David to understand exactly what his wife and son had cost our family. It would take Tyler calling me himself, not texting, calling, and apologizing truly for treating me like a money machine with legs. It would take Rebecca admitting what she did and taking responsibility. And it would take you, David, promising me that this kind of tricking will never happen again. That seems reasonable. Does it? Then make it happen. He left, promising to fix everything. But I'd already decided that some things couldn't be fixed. Thursday passed without a single phone call. Friday morning brought a group text to me, David and Rebecca. Can't wait for Monday. Going to be the best adventure ever. Love you all. From Tyler, like nothing had happened. Like the past week of hurt and manipulation could be erased with happy emojis. I responded to the group text. Have a wonderful time, sweetheart. Rebecca immediately texted me privately. Sarah, thank you for understanding. We'll make sure to take lots of pictures for you. Pictures. She wanted me to be grateful for pictures of the trip I funded but wasn't allowed to go on. Noon, David called. Mom, Tyler's really excited. Maybe we could just let this whole thing go. You know how teenage boys can be. How can they be, David? Well, emotional, dramatic. They don't always think things through. And what about 40-year-old women married to my son? Are they also emotional and dramatic and don't have to think things through? Silence. David, has Tyler called to apologize? He's been really busy with graduation preparations. That's not what I asked. No, he hasn't called. Has Rebecca admitted what she did? Another pause. Mom, Rebecca feels like you're making this bigger than it needs to be. I see. So Rebecca's position is that taking almost $20,000 from me and then uninviting me is what? A small social mistake. She didn't mean it the way it sounded. How did she mean it, David? He couldn't answer that because we both knew exactly how Rebecca meant it. At 4 o'clock Friday afternoon, I made my final decision. I started with mountain peak tours. Mrs. Johnson, how can I help you? I need to cancel Monday's trip. The silence was loud. Then, ma'am, the trip is Monday. All the preparations are done. I understand this is unusual. I'm willing to pay whatever fees are necessary, but the Johnson graduation trip needs to be cancelled. But we've prepared everything. The guides are assigned. The equipment is packed. The trip is cancelled. Please notify your staff and refund what you can. Next, the airline. Mrs. Johnson, surely you don't mean. I absolutely mean it. Cancel the flight tickets. But we've processed everything. The seats alone. I'll pay whatever fees you require. Cancel them. The gear store, the camera shop, the tour guide. Each call was the same. Shock, disbelief, then acceptance when they realized I was serious. By 6 o'clock, Tyler's perfect graduation trip existed only in his imagination. At 8 o'clock my phone started ringing. David's name on the screen. I let it ring and ring and ring. 47 times according to my phone. Finally, at almost 11 o'clock I answered. Hello, David. Mom, what did you do? His voice was hoarse from yelling, probably at Rebecca, possibly at Tyler, definitely into the emptiness of his own poor choices. I made some business decisions about services I had paid for. Business decisions. Mom, Tyler's trip is Monday. Is it? How interesting. I wasn't invited, so I wasn't really keeping track. You can't. Mom, you can't do this to him. And that's when I said the words that felt like 30 years of frustration finally finding their voice. David, you and Rebecca taught Tyler that I'm too embarrassing to include in his celebration. I'm just agreeing with you. The silence that followed my words lasted long enough for me to wonder if the call had dropped. Then David's voice came back, smaller now, almost like a little boy. Mom, please. Tyler's devastated. All his friends were coming. He's been planning this for months. Has he? And in all that planning, did he ever mention how grateful he was to his grandmother for making it possible? He's just a kid, Mom. He's 18, David. At 18, I was working after school to help feed my family. At 18, you were volunteering at the animal shelter every weekend. At 18, a person is old enough to understand being grateful and showing respect. I could hear Rebecca's voice in the background, sharp and angry, though I couldn't understand the words. Rebecca wants to talk to you, David said. I'm sure she does. The phone rustled as it changed hands. Sarah. Rebecca's voice was ice cold. I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but you're hurting an innocent child. Am I? Because this innocent child seemed perfectly comfortable hurting his innocent grandmother. Tyler never meant to hurt you. He was just trying to avoid an awkward situation with his friends. What exactly would have been awkward about his grandmother going on his trip, Rebecca? Well, you know how it is. Different ages, different interests. The kids would have felt like they had to act differently with adults around. Adults? You mean the adult who paid for the entire trip? That's not. Sarah, you offered to help with the trip. No one forced you. Here it was. The lie I'd been waiting for Rebecca to tell. Did I offer, Rebecca, or did Tyler and you ask me repeatedly for money while looking up exactly what everything would cost? I don't know what you're suggesting. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm stating directly that you and Tyler tricked me into paying for a trip you never planned for me to go on. That's ridiculous. Is it? Tell me, Rebecca, when exactly were you planning to uninvite me? Before the first check I wrote or after you gotten everything you needed? The silence told me everything. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Tomorrow, instead of going on a trip he can't afford to a place he doesn't deserve with equipment he didn't pay for, Tyler is going to learn something valuable about consequences. And you, Rebecca, are going to learn something about respect. You can't just destroy a child's special celebration because your feelings were hurt. Watch me. Hung up. The phone immediately started ringing again. I turned it off. Saturday morning came sunny and warm, which seemed wrong. I made coffee, toast with jam, and sat on my back porch watching the neighbor's dog play in their yard. Peaceful, quiet. Exactly the opposite of what would have been happening at the airport right now. My doorbell rang at 10 o'clock. Through the window, I could see Tyler standing on my front step, still in his sleep clothes. His eyes red from crying. Open the door. Grandma. His voice was small and broken. Please. My friends, they're all expecting me. Everyone knows about the trip. Looking at him, I felt a sharp pain of something that might have been regret. This was still my grandson. This was still the little boy who used to beg me to read just one more bedtime story. But he was also the young man who had looked me in the eye and asked for thousands of dollars while planning to exclude me from the celebration. Tyler, can you tell me why you thought it was okay to take money from someone you were planning to uninvite? His face crumpled. I didn't. Mom said. Grandma, I never meant for this to happen. What did you mean to happen? I wanted a perfect trip like everyone else has. And you thought a perfect trip couldn't include your grandmother? No, I mean yes. He was crying now. The kind of crying that happens when someone realizes they made a terrible mistake. Grandma, my friends would have thought it was weird. Would they? Or would you have been embarrassed of me? The truth was in his face before he could form words to deny it. Oh, sweetheart, I said softly. What kind of person are you becoming? That's when he broke completely, sobbing on my doorstep like the child he still was in so many ways. And that's when I realized something that changed everything about what I thought I was doing. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. I stood looking at Tyler sobbing on my doorstep, and for a moment, my determination almost cracked. Almost. Then I remembered the casual cruelty in that text message. The entitled assumption that I'd fund my own exclusion. "Come inside, sweetheart." He followed me to the kitchen where I poured him orange juice and gave him tissues. Amazing how we return to childhood comforts in moments of crisis. "Grandma, please. Can't you just uncancel everything?" "Uncancel what exactly?" "The trip. Call everyone back. Tell them it was a mistake." I sat across from him at my small kitchen table. "Tyler, do you understand what you and your mother did to me? We hurt your feelings. And I'm sorry. I really am. This goes deeper than hurt feelings, sweetheart. You taught me something about how you see me, about how I fit into your life." He wiped his nose with a tissue. "That's not. I love you, Grandma. Do you? Or do you love what I can do for you?" The question hung between us like a challenge. "That's not fair. Tyler, when's the last time you called me just to talk? Not to ask for something. Not because your parents made you, but because you wanted to hear my voice." He opened his mouth then closed it. "When's the last time you asked about my life? How I'm doing since Grandpa George died? Whether I'm lonely, what I do with my days?" His face was turning red now. The kind of red that comes with uncomfortable self-awareness. Grandma, I'm busy with school and friends and—" "I know you are, but Tyler, relationships aren't one-way streets. For 8 months, you and your mother have treated me like a bank account with legs. Mom said you wanted to help. I did want to help, but I also wanted to be part of your celebration. I wanted to see you happy and excited. I wanted to take pictures and cry because my grandson was growing up so beautifully." Tyler's tears started fresh. "Grandma, I didn't think." "No, you didn't. You thought about what you wanted and how to get it. You didn't think about how it would feel to be thrown away once I'd done what you wanted. I can fix this. I'll tell everyone the trip's back on. I'll tell Mom she was wrong. Tyler, the companies have been cancelled. The money is lost. But more importantly, something between us broke this week, and it can't be fixed with apologies." "What do you mean?" I reached across the table and took his hand. "I mean you need to decide who you want to be, sweetheart. The kind of person who uses people or the kind who values them." "I do value you." "Then prove it." Before he could ask how, my doorbell rang again. Through the window, Rebecca, looking like she got dressed in a storm. "Open the door." "Where is he?" Rebecca demanded, pushing past me. "Tyler, get in the car now." "Mom, I'm talking to Grandma." "You're manipulating your grandmother just like she manipulated us." Actually laughed. "I'm sorry. What did I manipulate you into doing, Rebecca?" "You made us think you wanted to help with the trip." "I did want to help. I also wanted to go. That was never discussed. Because you never intended to include me." Tyler looked between us, understanding coming into his face. "Mom," Tyler said slowly, "did you always plan to uninvite Grandma?" Rebecca's pause was answer enough. Rebecca's face went through several expressions before settling on defensive anger. "Tyler, you said you wanted a trip just for your friends." "I said I wanted a cool trip. I never said Grandma couldn't come. You said you'd be embarrassed if it felt too much like a family thing. I said I wanted it to feel special. That doesn't mean Grandma couldn't be there." I watched this exchange with fascination. Rebecca was cornered now, caught between her lies to Tyler and her lies to me. "Rebecca," I said quietly, "were you planning to uninvite me from the beginning?" "Of course not. It was just—" Tyler changed his mind about what he wanted. Tyler stood up fast. "Mom, stop lying." "Tyler, don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic. You told me weeks ago that Grandma would probably feel out of place with all my friends there. You said it would be better if we celebrated with family separately." Rebecca's face went white. "You convinced me it would be awkward for everyone," Tyler continued, his voice growing stronger. "But you never said anything about Grandma paying for everything." Tyler, your grandmother offered. She offered because you and I asked her to. Over and over again. I felt a surge of something that might have been pride. Tyler was finally seeing the manipulation clearly. And now all my friends know about the trip, and nothing's happening, and everyone's going to think I'm a liar. Tyler continued, tears starting again. Sweetheart, I said gently. What do you think matters more? What your friends think, or what kind of person you're becoming? I don't know, he said sadly. I just wanted a perfect trip. Tyler, Rebecca said sharply. Stop making this bigger than it is. Your grandmother is being vindictive because her feelings got hurt. That word, vindictive, as if standing up for myself was somehow wrong. Rebecca, let me ask you something. If I hadn't paid for this trip, would Tyler have been upset about not having it? That's not the point. It's exactly the point. You created a situation where Tyler felt entitled to something he couldn't afford, then excluded the person who made it possible. We were going to include you in other ways. What other ways? Rebecca hesitated. Pictures, stories about the trip. So I could pay for the privilege of hearing about the fun I wasn't allowed to have. Tyler was staring at his mother with something that looked like horror. Mom, that's awful. Tyler, you don't understand adult relationships. I understand that Grandma paid $20,000 for something she wasn't allowed to attend. Rebecca's composure was cracking. Your grandmother has plenty of money. It's not like this was hard for her. That stopped me cold. Excuse me. Well, George left you very comfortable. It's not like you have anything else to spend money on. The boldness was breathtaking. In Rebecca's mind, my money wasn't really mine because I didn't have the right kind of expenses. Rebecca, whether I can afford something doesn't give you the right to take advantage of me. No one took advantage. Mom, yes you did. Tyler's voice was steady now. We totally took advantage of Grandma. Rebecca turned on her son. Tyler, we are leaving now. No. The word hung in the air like a challenge thrown down. What did you say? I said no, Mom. I want to talk to Grandma. Tyler, get in the car this instant. Or what? You'll ground me. Cancel my trip. I almost smiled at that. Tyler already canceled it. Rebecca spun on me. You think you're so clever, don't you? I think I finally understand what I'm dealing with. You're dealing with a family that loved you enough to include you in something special. Include me. Rebecca, you uninvited me via text message. That was just exactly what you intended. Rebecca grabbed Tyler's arm. We're going home now. Let go of me, Mom. Tyler, don't make me. Don't make you what? Treat me like you treated Grandma. That comparison hit Rebecca like a slap. Her grip loosened. Never. That's completely different. How? Rebecca couldn't answer. Probably because she was finally realizing how her behavior looked through her son's eyes. Tyler, I said. Your mother and I need to have a conversation. Why don't you go upstairs? There are books in my bedroom if you want something to read. After Tyler left, Rebecca and I faced each other in my kitchen like fighters before a match. You've turned my son against me. I've shown your son who you really are. Who am I, Sarah? Please enlighten me. You're someone who thinks other people exist to serve your purposes. You saw my money and my loneliness after George died, and you decided both could be useful to you. That's not true, isn't it? Tell me, Rebecca, before you needed money for this trip, how often did you call me? How often did you invite me over just because? She couldn't answer. You know what I think. I think you've always resented that David loves me. You've always felt like you had to compete with his mother for his attention. That's ridiculous. Is it? You've spent 8 years trying to minimize my role in his life. You schedule family dinners when you know I have other plans. You make arrangements without checking with me first. You've systematically excluded me from your lives except when you needed something. Rebecca's face was flushed now. You're paranoid. Am I? When's the last time you invited me to dinner without wanting something? Silence. When's the last time you asked David to call me just because? More silence. When's the last time you encouraged Tyler to spend time with me without an agenda? We. Sarah, you're reading too much into normal family dynamics. Normal. Rebecca, in normal families, grandmothers are treasured, not tolerated. We treasure you. You treasure my bank account. Tyler's voice came from the stairway. Mom, Grandma's right. We both turned. Tyler was sitting on the stairs, having obviously been listening. Tyler, no. Mom, let me talk. Tyler came back into the kitchen. Grandma, I found something upstairs. He was holding a photo album I kept on my nightstand. Pictures of George and me, of David growing up, of Tyler as a baby and little boy. Look at this picture, Mom. He showed us a photo from Tyler's 9th birthday. In it, I was kneeling beside Tyler helping him open presents. Rebecca stood in the background checking her phone. And this one. Another photo, Tyler's school science fair 2 years ago. I was in the front row clapping enthusiastically. Rebecca was visible in the back talking to another parent. And this one. Tyler's 8th grade graduation. I had my arm around Tyler, both of us beaming. Rebecca was turned away talking to someone else. I never noticed before, Tyler said quietly. But Grandma, you're in all my important moments. And Mom, you're there, but you're not really there. Rebecca's face was crumbling. Tyler, that's not. I was there for all those things. Physically, yes. But Grandma was present. There's a difference. The wisdom in my 18-year-old grandson's words took my breath away. And I treated her like she didn't matter, Tyler continued, tears starting again. I let you convince me that having her on my trip would be embarrassing. Tyler, no. Mom, I need to say this. Tyler turned to me. Grandma, I am so sorry. Not just for the trip, for everything. For taking you for granted, for not seeing how much you love me. For letting Mom make you feel unwelcome. Sweetheart. I want to be different. I want to be the kind of person who deserves a grandmother like you. And that's when my heart completely broke open. 4 weeks later, I was sitting in my lawyer's office reviewing documents I never thought I'd need. Are you certain about this, Sarah? Marcus asked. His eyebrows raised with concern. I'm certain. Marcus, I'm 69 years old. My husband is gone. My son apparently learned nothing from the trip disaster. And my daughter-in-law just proved she's exactly who I thought she was. The trip cancellation had been just the beginning. In the aftermath, Rebecca had launched a campaign of emotional manipulation that would have impressed a master manipulator. First came the guilt. Phone calls about how I'd traumatized Tyler. Text messages about Tyler crying himself to sleep. Voicemails about the lasting psychological damage I'd caused a child. Then came the threats. Rebecca had suggested that perhaps my decision-making capabilities weren't what they used to be. Perhaps David needed to become more involved in my financial affairs. Perhaps I needed help managing my money. The final straw came when I discovered Rebecca had called my bank, claiming to be my daughter-in-law, concerned about unusual account activity. She'd actually tried to get information about my finances. Mrs. Johnson, the bank manager, had told me when I called to complain. We didn't provide any information, of course, but she was quite persistent. She seemed to think she had some right to access your accounts. That's when I called Marcus. The trust structure you're proposing is quite complex, Marcus said now, reviewing the papers. Are you sure you don't want to discuss this with David first? David had 4 weeks to have an adult conversation with his wife about boundaries and respect. Instead, Rebecca has doubled down on her behavior. What exactly happened? I pulled out my phone and showed him the text messages from Rebecca. Sarah, we need to talk about your increasing isolation and erratic behavior. David is concerned. From Rebecca. Your vindictive response to a simple misunderstanding suggests some concerning changes in your personality. From Rebecca. We think it might be time to consider whether you should be making major financial decisions alone. Marcus whistled low. She's questioning your mental competency. She's setting up a narrative where I'm the unstable old woman who needs her family to protect her from herself. And David is caught in the middle, trying to keep everyone happy, which means he's effectively enabling Rebecca's behavior. Marcus set down the documents. Sarah, what you're proposing will protect your assets, but it will also create significant family conflict. The family conflict already exists. I'm just refusing to pretend it doesn't. Walk me through this one more time. I took a deep breath. The trust gets everything. The house, the investments, George's life insurance money, all of it. Tyler gets an education fund that Rebecca can't touch. David gets a modest inheritance when I die, but only if he's maintained a respectful relationship with me. And if he hasn't, his portion goes to charity. That's a powerful incentive for good behavior. It's also a test. If David chooses Rebecca's manipulation over his mother's well-being, then he's not the son I raised, and he doesn't deserve George's legacy. Marcus nodded slowly. And the immediate changes. My house gets transferred to the trust tomorrow. All my accounts get restructured. Rebecca will wake up Monday morning to discover that her financial access to me has been completely eliminated. She's going to be furious. She's going to be exactly what she's always been. The only difference is now she won't be able to hide behind fake concern and manipulation. And Tyler. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Tyler has been calling me every day since the trip incident. Real calls about school, about friends, about whether he should join the debate club. He's also started asking about George, about what he was like, about our life together. That's wonderful. He's becoming the person I always knew he could be. Sometimes people need to see the consequences of their choices before they can change. Marcus gathered the papers. I'll have everything ready by Monday. Good. Sarah, once this is done, there's no going back. Marcus, I haven't been truly happy in my own family for years. They've made me feel like a burden, an obligation, an inconvenient reminder of their duty. The only person who treats me like I matter is my grandson, and he had to learn that by watching me stand up for myself. And if David chooses Rebecca over rebuilding his relationship with you, then I'll know where I stand, and I can stop pretending otherwise. That night Tyler called. Grandma, are you really going to change your will? Word travels fast in families. How did you hear about that? Mom was screaming about it to Dad. Something about financial manipulation and you losing your mind. What do you think, sweetheart? I think Mom's scared because she can't control you anymore. 7 months after the graduation trip that never happened, Tyler started college with a full scholarship and a trust fund that would cover anything the scholarship didn't. David and I had coffee once a week, slowly rebuilding our relationship on terms that respected both of us. Rebecca and I maintained polite distance. And me. I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone else's worst impulses, even when that someone is family, even when it costs everything you thought you wanted, even when it means canceling the trip. Tyler called me last week with news. Grandma, I've been thinking about something. What's that, honey? I want to take you on a trip. Just you and me. Somewhere you've always wanted to go. Tyler, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. You've always been there for me, and I took it for granted. I want to make new memories with you, the right way this time. We're planning a trip to Maine next summer. Just the two of us. No expensive camping gear, no fancy cameras, no hidden agendas. Just a grandmother and grandson who learned the hard way that love isn't about money or appearances or what other people think. It's about showing up, being present, and valuing the people who matter. Rebecca still doesn't speak to me much. That's okay. Some relationships can't be saved, and trying to force them only causes more pain. David and I are still working on our relationship. It's slow, careful work, like rebuilding a house from the foundation up. But there's hope there now. He's starting to see how Rebecca's behavior affected not just me, but Tyler too. Last month David called me. Mom, I need to apologize. For what, sweetheart? For not protecting you. For letting Rebecca treat you that way for so long. For being too afraid of conflict to stand up for what was right. David, you're standing up now. That's what matters. I should have seen it sooner. Sometimes we can't see things clearly when we're in the middle of them. What matters is that you see it now. As for me, I'm doing better than I have in years. I joined a book club at the library. I volunteer at the community center teaching kids how to bake. I've made friends who value me for who I am, not what I can do for them. And I sleep peacefully at night knowing I stood up for myself when it mattered most. The other day, a woman in my book club asked me about family. Do you have children, Sarah? I have a son and a grandson, I said. And we're learning to be a family again, the right way this time. She nodded knowingly. Family can be complicated. It can, I agreed. But sometimes the complications teach us the most important lessons. I think about that canceled trip sometimes. $19,537. That's a lot of money to spend on a lesson. But it taught me something I desperately needed to learn. That I'm worth more than being convenient. That love without respect isn't really love at all. That standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. And that sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who need to learn how to do it properly. Tyler graduates from college in 3 years. He's already told me he wants me at the ceremony. Front row, center seat. He's even planning a small family dinner afterward. Just the 4 of us, he said. You, me, Dad, and Mom. If she's ready to be part of the family the right way. If not, just the 3 of us. That's when I knew the lesson had truly sunk in. Tyler understood now that family isn't about obligation or guilt or money. It's about mutual respect, genuine love, and showing up for each other in ways that matter. So yes, I canceled my grandson's graduation trip. I took back the $19,537 I'd spent. I broke my family apart so we could build it back better. And I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. 'Cause sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes it means letting people face consequences. And sometimes it means canceling the trip. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share your own story in the comments below. This is Jamal's Revenge, reminding you that your worth isn't measured by what you give, but by how you're treated. Until next time.